What's up, everybody? Marvel the Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. Today we are looking at Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 31. Today's title is Black Van, and today we are seeing Spider-Man. It looks like he's in handcuffs here. We're going to have to figure all this out as we continue this story here. We have a fake Spider-Man going around New York City threatening the lives of people in the New York City, giving Spider-Man, the real Spider-Man, a bad rap. And so we start out the issue here. We have Captain George Stacy and his men, and they are at this police convention. And all of a sudden, they see an explosion take place right next to Skyball here. And so they're going to grab their guns. They're going to run, and they notice that Spider-Man is on the scene, and it looks like he's been beating up this guy. This armored car has just been exploded here, and this guy's life is hanging in the balance. And we see George Stacy here says, I'm giving you to the count of 3. Do it now. And so what is going to happen? Also, we see Trump's name appears in this issue for some reason. That's pretty cool. But anyway, previously in Ultimate Spider-Man, a mystery man posing as Spider-Man is committing a series of daring robberies throughout the city. Frustrated by the bad rap he is getting, Peter decides to get in the middle of a standoff between the police and this fake Spider-Man. But Spider-Man is viciously attacked by the police the second he shows up to the crime scene. Spider-Man is shot and falls to the ground at the feet of the rabid news media and police. Mary Jane, Peter's girlfriend and the only person that knows he is Spider-Man, sneaks out of her room in the middle of the night and helps an injured Peter into a hospital emergency room. Peter is treated for his gunshot wound and narrowly escapes being brought into police custody. Gwen Stacy, the new girl at school, is staying at Peter's house while her father, Police Captain John Stacy, I meant to say John, not George, is in Atlantic City for a police convention. And as always, this is brought to you by Brian Michael Bendis, Mark Bagley, Art Thibert, Chris Ilopoulos, C.B. Cebulski, Brian Smith, Ralph Macchio, Joe Quesada, and Bill Jamas. So we start out the issue here, and we basically see Peter Parker trying to nurse his wound. Remember, he was shot in the shoulder by a police officer last issue. And we see basically he's just not into it today. He doesn't want to even be at school. And we see the teacher here is catching on to him. He thinks that Peter Parker is dozing off in class, but actually he's just writhing in pain here because he's trying to recover from that gun wound. And so basically the only other person that knows about this is, of course, Mary Jane. And the teacher says, are you okay, Peter? And Peter says, actually, no, I'm not feeling that well. And she says, would you like to go to the nurse? And he says, yeah, maybe. And she says, all right, go then. So he gets up and leaves class. We see Gwen is looking very suspiciously. She's like, what is up with Peter? And so Peter goes into the hallway. He opens up his locker, and he notices that there's been a note left on the locker. He opens the note, and it says there's a black van in a parking lot. And it says, I'll take care of the shoulder. So who knows about Peter's condition? This is something very strange here, very suspicious. And of course, when Peter walks out of the school, there's that black van sitting right there in the parking lot. And Peter's like, this better not be Norman Osborn. He opens the door, and it just so happens to be one of Nick Fury's agents. It's actually Janet Van Dyne. And if you don't know anything about Janet Van Dyne, she is the Wasp. And in this universe, she is a member of the Ultimates. And so she opens the van, and Peter gets in. He's very cautious at first. He doesn't want to go into the van because he doesn't trust Nick Fury. But he's in a lot of pain, so he allows Janet Van Dyne to basically patch up the wounds here, to look at the wounds, and she's going to then give him a shot in his arm with this weapon. Or not really, it's a weapon, but it's really like it's like a medicine of some sort. And it's like a shot, basically. It's like a flu shot in a way. And she says, you may feel some symptoms afterward, like flu symptoms, but you will heal up very quickly once you get this shot in your arm. So she does it, gives it to him. She said, look, you need to lay low for a little bit. We know that this fake Spider-Man is out there impersonating you. And to be honest with you, if I would have known that there is someone out there impersonating me, I would find him and beat the holy snot out of him. And so Peter, after school, meets up with Gwen and Mary Jane. They're walking home because, of course, Gwen Stacy is staying at Peter Parker's house, and he basically says to them, "Hey, I'm actually feeling pretty good right now. My condition's getting a lot better." Mary Jane smiles and says, "Really?" And then all of a sudden, Gwen stops Peter and Mary Jane and says, "Look, I know what's going on between you two. I know this big secret." They look at each other shocked, like, "Oh no, does she know that I'm Spider-Man?" But then she says, "I know that you two have been meeting up in the middle of the night. Dude, you came in at 1 in the morning. I heard you. If my dad caught me out with a guy at 1 in the morning, he would lock me in a tower like that chick in that movie." He said, "Hey, listen, good for you guys, but you're going to get busted. Everyone gets busted eventually." And then she basically says, "What?" They look, police cars are surrounding Peter Parker's home. Peter's like, "Oh crap, Aunt May, what happened?" He runs into the home here, and they find a bunch of these New York officers. They look sad. Gwen comes into the house, and one of the officers gives her basically her father's badge, John Stacy's badge here. And she's basically found out that John Stacy has died. John Stacy has died. He died thanks to the fake Spider-Man. And we see that she cries out, "No!" And so Ben Urich is on the scene. He's getting all the eyewitness details, all the reports about what happened to John Stacy. Basically, Spider-Man, the fake Spider-Man, was on the scene, and the fake Spider-Man basically had this explosive backpack on him, and he basically took the explosive, threw it in the air, and this backpack was going to get very close to this very young child here. John Stacy, being the hero that he is, dives right in the midst of this child, throws the child to one of the police officers, and then takes the full brunt of the explosive, and he dies in the explosion here. And so now, even in this universe, John Stacy dies. I mean, this is crazy stuff here. And Gwen Stacy, of course, is going to blame Spider-Man. She's going to blame Spider-Man for the death of her father here. And so now, this is just deja vu all over again if you know anything about what happened to Captain Stacy in the regular universe. And so Gwen basically says, "Look, y'all, I need to be alone for a while." And so they're going to leave her. We see Peter Parker the next day. He's at the Daily Bugle. He's feeling sad. And basically, he learns from Joe Robertson that there is a guy dressed up as Spider-Man, and there's a standoff with the police right now. And while Joe Robertson is speaking, Peter Parker vanishes from the scene. He's going to dress up as Spider-Man here. He swoops in. The police notice that there's another Spider-Man on the scene, so now there's two Spider-Man. Also, we are introduced to Captain DeWolf here, and so she is a very important character in the regular universe, and so she makes her first appearance in this issue. So Spider-Man, the real Spider-Man, dies through the window, and we see that the fake Spider-Man is holding this woman hostage here. And so it's basically at a standoff right now. Finally, the real Spider-Man comes across the fake Spider-Man. What's going to happen in the next issue is we finally see the confrontation, the big confrontation between these two. And so it's going to be awesome stuff. I hope to see you next time as we continue to look at this series here. And go ahead and give this video a like. Comment down below what you like about this issue. Subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one.